Good morning everybody. It's been a little while since we did a video. So here we are with a midsummer incense recipe. Well in advance of the solstice, because it will give you a chance to get your ingredients together, get anything dried that you need to be dried, and also give it a chance to cure maybe for a few days before you use it on the solstice. Solstice. For me, that word has always in itself had a magical ring. And it means sun stands still. And at the solstice, at the midsummer solstice, the sun seems to rise and set in the same place on the horizon for 3 days before beginning to withdraw its heat and its light and its power. It's a pivotal time, and in some ways to me it's also quite a sad time. It marks the height of the power of the sun, the height of the period of growth, and the height of the midsummer. And after that, although we've got hopefully plenty of days of sunshine left throughout July and August, the power of the sun is actually beginning to wane. So what it means in terms of the wheel of the year is the period of rapid active growth is coming to an end, and the sun's energy, instead of going into creating active growth, new leaves, is actually beginning to turn inward, if you like, and it's actually beginning to produce flowers, which in turn means that the energy is going into producing seed, producing fruits, producing nuts. So that energy is actually going into a sort of manifestation phase, a ripening phase. And that to me is a little bit sad, because it also means as humans, it begins our return to the inner realms. Okay, it's only the first phase, but it does for me mark that transition. And although it's not the beginning and the end of a year in the sense that Samhain might be or Yule might be, it is the end of the active phase, or the ending of the active phase, and the beginning of turning inwards to the darker phase, to the inner world, the inner life. So because of that, the date of the summer solstice is sort of regarded as the optimum time to pick and dry, or pick herbs ready for drying. I've been doing it for a week or two now, and I shall continue to do it up until the solstice. Obviously with some herbs like mugwort, which don't come into flower until late, you've still got time after the solstice to harvest those. But what happens is, once the energy of the sun and the plant begins to go into the production of flowers and seeds, the strength of the plant is no longer paramount in the leaves. So the optimum time for picking plants is actually before they flower. And at the moment we have a lot of plants a lot of our herbs are in flower. The chives are just opening in flower. Thyme has been in flower for a while. Lovage is beginning to put up seed heads, flower heads. We've also got lady's mantle coming into flower. So I've just picked mine, and I've included in the lady's mantle, I've included some of the flowering heads as well. So that's the phase we're at in the wheel of the year. That's the phase we're at in terms of our own sort of spiritual wheel as well. So we're at the phase where the power in the outer realms is waning, and the power of the inner realms is expanding. So for my themes, I'm going to be looking for, and for my choice of ingredients for the incense, for my themes I'm going to be looking at sun, because we still need the light of the sun. We need the light of the sun to bring about the flowers, to bring about the ripening of the fruit. So we need to call on the sun. We need sun energy. We're hoping for abundance. We're hoping for our desires to bring to fruition, both in terms of a harvest, hopefully a good harvest, but also a harvest within ourselves, the things that we've been working on during the period of active growth. We want those to continue, we want those to come to fruition, we want to recognise the sort of end product of our own efforts, in the active phase. I said that I regard it as the end of one phase and the beginning of another phase, and so I do see it as a period of, if you like, a new beginning, a beginning of a movement into looking after the inner world. So new beginnings is important. Hope, fertility, prosperity, the continued love between the god and the goddess, because of course in terms of the goddess mythos, the goddess is now pregnant with the seed of the god, which she will bear at Yule, and the god in his turn later in the year will turn away into the inner realms and enter the underworld. So for those themes, what I've chosen is some frankincense. I could have chosen copal because there are similar associations, but frankincense for calling on the sun, the continuation of the sun's power, and the abundance of crops, hope for the abundance of crops. Yellow sandalwood, because one of the powers of yellow sandalwood, which is ruled by the moon, is to bring about the fruition of our desires, and that's in terms of our own inner workings and the abundant harvest that we all want. For the idea, the concept of new beginning, what I've been out and I had a little commune with my birch tree, my silver birch tree, and I've taken a few little bark shavings to bring for new beginnings. Birch is a tree of rebirth, new beginnings. Birch was said to be the first tree. It is the first to colonise areas which have been devastated. In Hiroshima, for example, after the dropping of the atomic bomb, the first plant to begin to grow back was the birch. And in the Ogham alphabet, birch is Baith, and in the runic alphabet it's Berkana, and both stand for rebirth, new beginnings, and so on. So we've got some birch bark here. Now I wanted also to include a flower, and I wanted that flower to be a flower of hope. So what I've done is, in my garden there are a few bits of late flowering hawthorn, so I've been and snipped some of those, and I've been drying it for the last few days, and this is all about hope and fertility. So I've got a few bits of hawthorn flower, mayflower, that I want to put in. And then the oil I'm going to add is benzoin, again because that's all about prosperity and abundance and bringing on sort of wealth and not monetary wealth, but wealth in terms of crops and harvest and so on. So those are my ingredients. Now, we'll put it together. I'll just remove my little symbol of the summer solstice. And I'm going to use, I haven't got my spoon. I'll get it. Sorry about that. I need the magical spoon of the art. So we're going to have 1 good part, or 1.5 parts, let's say, of frankincense. Then we're going to have 1/2 part of sandalwood, white sandalwood this is, and then I'm going to give that a little bit of a mix, grind it up. Now this, as you know, I like my incense to be quite lumpy and solid, so I'm not attempting here to grind it to a powder, but what I am eventually going to do is put in, this is the time to put in your intent, and the intent for the summer solstice is largely up to you. It can be for a fruitful inner and outer harvest, the continuance of the power of the sun and suitable weather conditions, sufficient rain to bring about increased growth and ripening of the fruit. Then I'm going to snip with the magical scissors my birch bark. It's paper really. It's only the outer layer. It's just the stuff that peels off easily. It's a lovely smooth texture, so it's not harming the tree really. It just curls up and falls off. So we've got that. Not particularly measured. There's probably about 1/2 part there if we're talking in terms of the magical spoon. And then I'm going to leave these little bits of stalk out, I think. And we'll just put in basically the flowers, the dried flowers of the May, the hawthorn. So that's that. And then finally, benzoin oil is thick. It won't come out of a dropper. So I've got a little pipette here that I'm just going to put a couple of 3 drops of benzoin oil in there. Okay, that's that. Now that needs to be stored in a glass jar in a cool place, away from a lot of light, and it needs to be allowed to cure for a few days before you use it finally in your incense. I think I've probably, hopefully, given you sufficient time to get things together before the solstice. We will actually probably be having our solstice on a beach somewhere in Cornwall, but we will take our incense with us in order to hold our little ceremony, which will be hopefully, if the weather's nice, on a beach. Okay, wishing you all the blessings of the solstice. Thank you.